And welcome back. Welcome back to another great episode of The Closing Table. I'm your host, James Garman. Yes, sir. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. I think we talked about this last week, Daniel. I'm not big on holidays anymore. Listen, it would have been cool if you done that, though, man. It would have been super cool. Listen, we all need a little fright in our life every now and then. Unfortunately, I wear my mask every day, and I kind of scare people off all the time. So, I think I wouldn't be offended if you wore your mask to, try to keep up with me. It's totally understandable. So you see, I have my realtor cup this morning, which is kind of cliche if you ask me. I think one of our good friends sent me my coffee cup, and I see you have an I Love New York cup, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But my coffee cup, and again, I was one of those type of people that really didn't care what I drank my coffee out of. So I definitely never really cared. Oh, okay, hold on. Ooh, thank you, Destiny. Oh, is that my fault? She said she don't have any sound. Oh, wow. I thought I checked that. That's my fault. Type in the chat if you don't mind. Look, fixing it now. All right. I was not expecting that one. All right. So we don't have any sound. That is unique. Okay. Do we have
difficulties? We'll be back shortly.
Oh, no. We should be good now. We should be good now. Please let us know if you can hear us. That would be great. I'm sorry about that. That's pretty much probably my mistake. Good morning, Bernadette, Destiny. Let us know if you can hear us before we actually get started on this amazing conversation that we're having this morning.
James has got his tie a little too tight.
So that's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens, man. Again, I try to come fast. The thing about a tie, right, is that I just recently learned how to tie a tie maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Like Bernadette was tying my ties prior to that. But, once I started taking real estate super serious, I'm like, I'm going to be the guy with the tie. I need to have a tie on. So I'm recently learning how to just tie a tie, man. It's crazy to say this, but being 30, I was 35 at the time, being 35 and just not learning how to tie a tie says a lot about what my life was previously like. So yeah, man, I'm a tie guy now. So what about you, man? When did you learn how to tie a tie?
I think my grandfather probably taught me how to tie a tie when I was like 17, 18. But with that being said, James, for like the next 10 years after school, I didn't wear a tie. So then, I had to learn all over again how to tie a tie.
Oh, really? So you can forget how to tie a tie?
Oh, yeah. You better stay on top of it.
Oh, man, I can't.
Well, you're doing a lot of real estate transactions, so you'll be a professional.
I'm doing a little bit, and nothing to complain about. Overall, I mean, I think a tie for me, I think it's a statement in some sense. Again, that's because I'm late getting to ties. I think sometimes these little noose chokers, it can get a little, irritating at some points. But overall, I think I'm gonna be a tie guy for the next few years at least. And there's some days that I go out, without a tie and just use the blazer. Try to steal your swag a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because either today or tomorrow we have to go out and take our son. We have homecoming coming up this weekend.
Oh,
and our son does not. How can I say it? He doesn't necessarily dress to impress.
Oh, really? What does that mean? He doesn't dress to impress. I mean, you gotta show him how to put his big boy pants on and teach him how to have a little swagger in his life.
He wants
5-inch
shorts, and a sweatshirt, and that's it, man. That's how they go to school.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's Florida though. I mean,
Yeah, but it's an Adidas sweatshirt with Nike shorts and Crocs. Like it's
I mean, come on, your son. I mean, he has that manly statue now since he be lifting all these weights. Is he running for prom, homecoming king or something like that?
no, he's not into all that stuff, man. He's just they're going with a group of friends, and he's like, but he did come to me last night. He's like, Dad, this is what I'm thinking. He's like, I'm thinking I want tight black blazers, I want a black shirt, and I want a red tie.
Oh, red tie, nice.
Like a skinny red tie. And I was like, man, why don't you get some red shoes? He's like, Dad, I'm not getting red shoes. I'm like, how about we get some shiny black shoes or something like that,
Nope, tennis shoes, right?
That's what I wanted him to do,
Yeah, got you. So when it comes to that, did you go to your homecoming?
I did.
I think you would have been homecoming king. I mean, come on, you had to be homecoming king.
Man, it was funny, man. My sophomore year, I really messed up right after football season, and I think I probably spent more time out of school than I did in school.
Oh, got you.
So the next 2 years, my junior and senior year, I basically went to school from 7:25 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night.
Really?
Yeah, man, to catch up in night school and everything. I wanted to graduate with my class and my friends. I didn't want to be left behind. So basically, I did that for 2 years up until probably 3 weeks before graduation my senior year.
Well, school is so different now. School is super different. Like, I don't think, I mean, at least from my perspective, I don't think school has the same elements that it used to have. I think these kids are so caught up in their technology these days that they don't actually enjoy the benefit of actually building that camaraderie at school, building that type of rapport with their teachers and their friends. I used to know the lunch lady. Like, I used to talk to the lunch lady. I don't think kids these days do that. I think they just go through the lunch line, even if they go to lunch, because I mean, I don't think I would want to eat school lunch these days. My daughter doesn't. She doesn't eat school lunch.
What does it cost you?
It cost me. No, it cost me nothing because she doesn't eat at school. So.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right.
And speaking about that, we're on keto right now. We're doing this keto diet. The keto diet. Are you familiar with the keto diet and how that works?
I've had people around me use the keto diet.
Have you seen any results from that?
Hit or miss, James. Some people say, "Oh, it's fantastic. I love it." Then 20 days later, they're like, "I can't take it anymore." You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen. So for me, I'm and Bernadette, she can attest to this. Me, I do not like to fully go in. Like when we became vegetarians, it took me a while to commit. But when I committed, I was in. But this keto, I don't feel like I can fully commit to the keto. Like, I'm good with no bread. I'm good with no carbs. I've been trying to get rid of that out of my diet for years, but bread is just like this Achilles heel for me. Like, it just smells so good. It just, a burger just feels like a burger's not a burger if you just wrapping it in lettuce, right?
Yeah.
So for me, a keto diet is she's fully committed. Have you heard of the keto flu?
No.
So there's this structure within the keto diet that actually causes you to contract this thing called the keto flu. It's not something like the regular flu, but it's just like your body's.
They have a vaccine for it?
I actually wanted to look that up. I was going to take her to the doctor and see if she can get vaccinated, but it's not that. It's not quite that type of build up. So
shot right in the butt.
So we didn't really fully understand what it was, but it's your body's changing its chemistry and the breakdown of how the lack of carbs has to be made up with the fatty substances of your diet. Yep. So with that being said, the keto flu kicked in for her maybe a week in, and I didn't understand what it was, but I kind of started to understand why I didn't want to go through keto flu, because I'm telling you, bro, when she was throwing up, she was really everything you could think of when it comes to like flu, she had it. And it was crazy that just changing your diet can put you through such a traumatizing, process. And I don't want to go through that, because she went through it for about a week. I think she's good now, But man, I didn't want to be, shitting on myself driving to a meeting, like because I can't hold. There's no bread in there, to keep things in. So
Yeah,
keto
yeah,
flu,
yeah.
keto flu is real, and I must tell you, I actually like the results that I'm getting. She's gotten great results. Now I'm using it to work out when it worked out this morning, and I feel like keto is a pretty good formula. I'm starting to see some results, and my daughter's on it as well. So it's a family thing right now. So
And that's cool, man. It's tough to get on one of those diets if you're the only one in the house doing it.
yeah,
Very tough. Um, I here I think we've tried different diets and all of that stuff inside the house. With Destiny doing a diet, Sierra changing the way and the foods that she eats and stuff like that. Now, I will tell you right now, like with my wife, it's no steak, it's no chicken, it's no fish, it's
so she's not even pescatarian. She's vegan.
no, I'm
She's
sorry. She's eating fish, but when
okay.
she eats steak and chicken, she feels miserable, so she stays away from it.
Mm, mm.
For me, I like having the carbs. I like having the toast in the morning. I definitely try to steer away from it, throughout the day. But in the morning, it's definitely in my startup.
It's in your
Coffee,
startup.
coffee, eggs, some toast. I'm a breakfast guy. I love breakfast.
And listen, I'm now, like I said, I've gone through so many little transitions. I've never been this big. Like as the size I am now, I picked this up doing COVID. So for me, like I want to really get back to where I was 2.5 years ago. That was roughly 195, 205 at the max.
Yep.
So I want to get back there. I feel like my structure and everything. But keto, eating this way has given me a lot of energy, like way more energy. I went through this lethargic stage for a minute, like where I was really tired after, eating so much steak and so much chicken. I felt really lethargic and I just wanted to go to sleep, but now it's not the same. I have so much more energy. Like it's crazy. I always used to really point my finger at keto, but now I'm like, hey, this may actually work.
I'm disappointed. I thought the reason why you had so much energy is because you were coming to the closing table with me, but I get it now, James.
But I wouldn't make it to the closing table if I wasn't on keto. And that's not me trying to plug keto either. So
I want to take a step back really quick we were talking about schools and like the education and how things are different. This week I saw an article that read, it had like carpenter, it had plumber, it had AC tech, it had all these different things, and it had the hourly range of salaries.
okay.
And I was like, man, I just love that because, in school when I was growing up, I was like, man, if you're not going to be a doctor, if you're not going to be an accountant, if you're not going to be an attorney, you're just not going to make it.
Right.
And we lose sight that the carpenter, the contractors, the plumbers, the AC, like we need those men and women, right?
Agreed.
And when I was growing up in school, I think like that was like, man, you don't want to do that. You're going to be, below the medium class. You're not going to make it and all that stuff. And it was really nice to see that article because it was like, hey, if not every kid wants to be a doctor and an attorney, right? They want to make a living. They want to provide for their family and stuff. And look, they can make $30, $40 an hour. They could do it for 5 or 6 years and then open up their own company, right?
Yep.
It was a really cool article. And I like these tech schools now that are opening up. And I want to say that they've been probably opening up for like the last 5, 6 years or so. But it gives kids another opportunity because school is not for everybody.
And I totally agree. I mean, to this point right now, like we was talking last week, and I think I was mentioning how Democrats and Republicans, I can always find something beneficial from either sector, no matter who's in the office. And one of the biggest things for me, and I'm pretty sure Trump could have found a way to do this, but the thing was like once Biden got in, it was the student loan debt relief. It's like paying off some of my damn student loans, and that would have been great. And recently he just got blocked from doing that, of course. But I think for me, I think school was a way to try to prove to my family that there is other options. But I tell my nephew, I tell my daughter, don't go to school if you don't know what you're doing. Do not go to college if you have not if you're not hell bent or you're not set on what you want to go to college for. And I do recommend you only going to college for one of those main sectors that you just mentioned. Only thing that makes sense, that financially makes sense, is becoming a doctor, like specialist doctor, or becoming a specialist in science, some type of science, or a lawyer, or something that has to do with a element of functionality in our world that actually can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because everything else, you can go to tech schools, which you can pay per class or pay per skill. Trade schools, there's so many different little avenues for you to pick up real skills to actually be applied into everyday life where you can make some real money.
Yeah. No, I agree. You got to have a plan, right? I mean, you need to have a plan for anything that you do.
Okay, we got Bernadette said, absolutely. Every mechanic I know lives at least an upper middle class lifestyle. And that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. I mean, because not only are they overcharging you for the work being done, but hey, it's a lot of cars out here in the world, and that's something that's on to always break down because they make them to break down. So you're gonna need a mechanic to fix it. So when it comes to school, and again, my daughter, super smart, but she was going to Mississippi. She was living in Mississippi earlier this year, and they had her set to graduate early. And then again, I know my daughter's smart. She's an intelligent young lady, but I didn't feel like my daughter was that smart that she needed to graduate a whole year early. So, and again, Mississippi, I'm like, there's got to be something going on here. There's got to be something wrong here. And once you look at it, her school is horrible. Like, the ratings for that school is horrible. They was only looking to pass these kids along to get them out of the
Get 'em out.
classroom. So for me, once she was telling me that they had it set up where they let you choose how many credits you want to graduate. And the less credits you choose to graduate, they're already dictating where you're going to end up in life. Like, literally, McDonald's manager. Like, they actually asking you, do you want to be in the food industry like a manager? Or do you want enough credits where you can go and be in a trade like mechanics and AC? Or do you want enough credits where you can go off to be a lawyer or a doctor? I'm like, where the hell did we get these choices from to actually tell kids, if you choose 18 credits versus the 24 credits, this is what your life is going to be set up as? Like, what kind of shit is that?
It's sad, you know. It's sad that even as a parent, it's sad to know that your kid's being pushed along when they're not ready, right?
Just pushed along.
Yeah, it's sad, you know. And James, in reality, what happens is we as parents, we get caught up in the daily grind with everything else, and then you have your children that are in school, and they have their lives. They're in school for 8 hours. You're at your job for 8 hours or whatever, 10 hours, right? And sometimes they got 6, 7 different classes. You're like, okay, how are you doing in school? What's the kid's response? Oh, I'm doing great.
Doing great.
I'm doing great, Dad.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's tough to manage everything else that goes in as a parent.
Yeah.
When you go to the school or you see something and, like you said, you just found out like it's really bad grades, all they're doing is pushing them along. And what's going to happen when she graduates or he graduates early, right?
There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there to support you going to a actual university or a prestigious college. So once she moved here and I realized, I'm like, okay, we got to get you out of that school. We got to get you something and something that has a better basis for education. And now that she's in this school, she's telling me, Dad, I'm learning so much more. I did not know I was missing out on so much great, a structure or education, because she wished she would have had this type of education early. Now, I was fortunate enough to go to one of the most prestigious high schools in Mississippi, which is Tupelo High School, which is a great high school. They had a great, academic structure, and they taught us things outside the box, but you don't get that everywhere in Mississippi. A lot of those schools are really, down there, and it's really like low budget schooling. And I wish I could have got her out earlier, but now that she's in her 11th grade year, going into her 12th next year, she's happy that she actually can expound on her intelligence a little more and figure out where she was being lackluster, with her growth. So, man, yeah, I'm super excited where, where she's been able to go right now, because school is important, but it's not as important as I feel like it used to be when maybe like me and you was going to school, and we wasn't taking it as serious as we should have been. But there's a lot of real elements missing in the school system today.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also, in like going in through school, for me, it was like I had one teacher. I can remember the one teacher, pushed me through high school, and I truly appreciate everything that man did for me, and keeping me grounded and letting me, you know, when I thought I was above the school board, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm just a 16, 17-year-old kid. That's all.
Got you. Well, listen, everybody, welcome back to the closing table. Me and Daniel, we love doing this now. It's going to start to feel real more, grounded as we continue to, bring you the closing table every Monday morning, 6:45 a.m. Because I'm assuming that's the new time now. We're going to just stick to 6:45. It'll give us
6:30 to 6:45, James. People are just getting in their cars. It's 6:46 is when they're actually driving.
When they're actually driving. So with that being said, we're definitely going to be here every Monday to bring you these wonderful podcasts, and we would love for you all to make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we go live. Because that's one thing you got to make sure you do. Hit that like button and that bell, and don't forget to share and jump in the comment section. Like, definitely jump in the live chat to let us know that you're engaging with the things we're saying, and maybe you can offer some type of opinion or some type of perspective that we may not be seeing. But with that being said, again, I think we mentioned this earlier, but the chat was muted. But I have my realtor cup here, which was sent to me by one of our good friends / clients. And I feel like this is a super cliche thing. Like, these type of mugs are super cliche to me, but I like them. It's like it says on here, hard working 1,000%. I'm getting to 1,000, but it's great motivational, stuff. Passion, about 500% passionate, 100% of determination, 300% caring, because I really do care about every client that I touch bases with. I have zero regret in real estate, except for those deals that fall through at the closing table, and that could have been worth a pretty good $25,000 to a $30,000 commission check. Those ones I regret a lot.
That's when you grab a pillow and just
Honestly. And 110% caffeine, because, again, I do not like decaf coffee. So let's talk about your beautiful mug there, bro. Yeah, I love New York.
Yes, sir. The jet lag is real. I took the family, I took my wife and my grandmother to New York this weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You know what? You're a lucky man. You're a lucky man to be able to take your grandmother on a trip, because that's one thing I wasn't able or fortunate to do while my grandmother was still here, is to really just take her on a beautiful trip like that, man. But so really fortunate to be able to do that, bro.
It was good. My wife and I, about 5 years ago, we flew into New Jersey, and we had an 8-hour layover. And
in Newark, at the Newark airport.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, man, we had 8-hour layover. We went to Central Park. We had dinner. My wife probably got sick in the cab ride, and it was a bad taste, man. We probably spent about $1,000 in the 8 hours between the cab ride.
No way.
Dinner, back. I think the cab ride itself was like $200. It was bad. It wasn't really good planning on our part, and so I can't really say at that time that we got the whole New York vibe and everything. So this trip really was to take my wife back, was to take my grandmother. It was one of her wishes to go there. And so we went, stayed right in Times Square, or like 2 blocks out of Times Square. And we saw the Statue of Liberty. Amazing. Actually, we were there on its anniversary, 136-year anniversary. So that was pretty cool.
That's sweet.
That anniversary is when they actually took the covering off of the Statue of Liberty.
Got you.
Then we took a trip to.
Let me ask you a question. Is the Statue of Liberty still as pristine? Is it? Did they keep that thing pristine?
Oh yeah, man. It's beautiful, man. As you walk around it and you see the different everything that's surrounded by that, the Governor's Island, all of that stuff, man. It's beautiful. And I think my wife looked it up. I think on average, 10,000 people a day go and see that.
Wow, 10,000? That
Yeah,
is
man.
crazy.
I mean, and 10,000 on average a day. I mean, that's Monday through Sunday, right? It's all day. These huge boats, probably. I'd say each one of those boats probably holds about 500-600 people, and then it just takes you from one port to the next. Um, so yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it. And it was just something that's a staple, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Liberty, stuff like that. Like you cannot go there and not go and see that.
And
Even
this
if you don't take the boat ride, you
and
just
this, and this is your first time actually in New York on that long extended stay, or no?
that is correct. Yep, this is
Yes.
my first time.
First
Yep.
time. Well,
Yep.
and again, I think I mentioned this to you is that I want to go to New York. Bernadette has been in New York with her sons performing up there. She went up there, I think, once or twice. I can't quite remember the exact number, but I haven't been myself. And I told you that's one of the places I want to go. But let's talk about New York for a second. And I'm pretty sure you was in the tourism or the tourist parts of New York.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I don't know. Can you say something real quick? I just want to make sure people are still hearing this. Danny, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly
Okay,
fine.
I just wanted to make sure. All right,
Yep.
just want
Yep.
to make sure.
Yep. No,
All
I
right.
hear you perfectly fine.
So, one thing about New York to me is that I think in the past 10 years, it's not the same New York that people used to talk about in any sense of the matter. So, can you kind of give me an insight of what you seen when it came up there? Like, because I hear a lot, like the homeless population, all of that stuff is like really, really crazy. The overcrowdedness, and then there's a lot of businesses that are leaving New York because of the high tax rates. Everything
Yeah.
Cuomo and all of those people was doing during that time in office. So, can you kind of give me a perspective of what you seen about New York while you was there?
Yeah, man. I mean, I will tell you, and I don't want to speak for my wife because she's not here, but she can always comment as well.
Yes.
I will tell you, man, it was beautiful, right? 10, 20 years ago, I don't know, the mafia is not there, man, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it is. You see all these movies, and that's what I was thinking when I was there. You think about all these movies that you see in New York, and it's all this crime and it's all this stuff. In reality, it's not, man. My wife and I purchased a carrying wheelchair for my grandmother. She can't walk very far, right? So people were stepping out of their conversations with their families to hold doors. We were moving in certain areas, and maybe my wife was leading the pack or my wife was behind me, and people would help me grab the wheelchair and help pick her up. Going up ramps, they were helping down. I mean, it was beautiful, man. Is it busy? Absolutely. But you're not doing that every single day. So it's cool to go and see all of that stuff
Right.
for 4 days and see all the people and see all the action and all the TV screens and everything. It was beautiful, man. I told my wife, I was like, I want to bring our kids here.
Do you think it's beautiful because you're looking at it through the eyes of a tourist versus the everyday life of a person who has to hustle and bustle in that area? I mean, because it's super expensive to live there. Like we have a client, a celebrity client that we deal with, and his 1 bedroom studio apartment was running him the price of a property that he just purchased here in Georgia, which was 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 3 floors. Like what he was spending on that 1 bedroom is he got 3 times the amount of house here.
We looked it up. How much was he spending? Do you have an idea?
4,200, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
4,200
So-
on a studio apartment.
Yep, we looked up. But 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 750 square
Square
foot.
foot,
It was
yep,
like-
about
it was
750.
like 4,200 in Times Square in the city there.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think most people there go there and work, take the subway and go out, right? Like, unless you own one of those buildings or you're making really good money.
Really good money.
I don't think you're living in the city. Most of the Uber drivers that we spoke to, and all of them were awesome, amazing.
Are
Like,
you one of those type of people that get in an Uber and the first thing you do is say, "Hey man, how long you been driving for Uber?"
no, so basically, I get in there and be like, man, you got patience of a saint.
I love striking. I don't know. I love striking up conversations with Uber
Yeah,
drivers,
absolutely,
man.
man. I always, of course, why not? You're sitting in the car, especially in New York, you're bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
I mean, I fell asleep tonight hearing horns, from cars. It's crazy, man. I mean, they come inches within each other. But I personally, for me, if I go back, I won't use a yellow cab, and I definitely won't use one of the gentlemen in the bikes. They're like $7 a minute in those bikes, right?
Whoa, really,
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Unbelievable.
man.
Uh, but Uber saved us. I mean, we had to use Uber for everything. We did walk Times Square on Saturday. We probably walked and pushed a wheelchair probably anywhere between 6 to 10 miles. Just we pushed through it. My wife and I with my grandmother. So.
Okay, and listen, I definitely want to visit New York. I mean, again, I don't think I want to live there. It's actually a couple of huge cities I would never want to live. Like California, I can only be in California for a week at the max, and a week is a little too much for me.
I've not been
But
to California.
huh?
I've not been to California.
Oh, California is a beautiful place. When I think California was beautiful 4 or 5 years ago when I first went, but it's not as beautiful as it was then. Like even I forgot the name of the beach. I'm sorry. One of the beaches that we was going to. Bernadette can attest to this, but it was beautiful the first time we went. But then the second time we went, it was just the homeless rate. The homeless rates are going up so much. And my thing is, I don't understand why people are being or want to be homeless in one of these expensive states. Like I've been homeless, so I can relate to, the struggle of the homeless, aspect. But I would rather be homeless in a place like Florida or Georgia in one of those smaller cities versus being in a huge overpopulated index of New York and California, because it just seemed like it's so much harder to get on your feet there when it comes to trying to actually get a place to live, trying to find, proper work. It's just so much harder to get established. So the homeless population for me in both of these states, California and New York, has become super, super overcrowded with people not being able to, suffice in life.
Yeah, I mean, I looked. There were homeless people as we were walking, right? And I think if they had a choice, James, I don't think that they would want to be homeless, right? I would think.
I don't know. I know. I
right?
mean, I don't know because I've seen a lot of videos. Bernadette actually has a fetish with watching people, like they call them Skid Row. She actually loved watching these videos, and a lot of these people actually admit to wanting to be homeless. Like it's freedom in some sense. I don't understand, but they like the fact that they're not obligated to have to stay structured.
Got you. Like, do what they want, say what they want,
Yeah, be where they want.
and stuff like that. But I think a lot of times with homeless people, like we walk by, we if we had extra food, we handed food. I will tell you, in New York, I saw 3 or 4 times where people would come out of a restaurant and there was somebody, laying on the sidewalk or so. In saying that, I don't want to paint this nasty picture of New York because honestly, it was beautiful, guys. It really, really was. Right? We have people that are struggling all around this world. It's just
facts.
New York. It's here in Florida. It's in Atlanta. And
Oh,
all
I
that
see
stuff.
so much here in Atlanta now. But you go ahead.
And it was just awesome. Like I can remember, I saw this one lady come out with her and her family, and she had a bag like her to go, and she sat it down right next to him, and the guy was sleeping. And she tapped the guy on the leg, and of course it scares the crap out of him,
Right,
right?
because they think some police or some mugger or
Yeah,
something. You never know.
exactly,
Yeah,
right? Or somebody's trying to rob him
Rob 'em.
because that's what probably happens. And it was just nice to see things like that where there's still good people out here in this
yeah,
world.
most
There's
definitely.
a lot of good people out
Yeah,
there.
I actually, and again, not trying to paint any bad picture about New York. I actually seen a video recently. I think it was on my Instagram where same scenario. Young guy, well, kind of young, but not really that young. Maybe about our age, maybe a little older. Was walking by and he took off his jacket and he put it over the homeless guy. But the homeless guy thought he was being attacked or something. and he got up and actually attacked the guy, which was, a sad situation. But sometimes, these situations, trying to help can go sour. I actually remember one situation where I used to deliver fruit for this fruit company. I used to work for this one of my college teachers when I lived in Memphis. He offered me a job because he knew I was kind of struggling trying to get by. So he offered me a job at his company where we deliver fruit. I don't know if you ever went to one of those convenience stores and you see the little basket of apples, bananas. I used to be the guy that used to put those things in those baskets. And at the end of the day, the ones that was there, I had to take them and swap them out, and I can just keep them. But I used to have boxes of bananas and apples left over, at the end of the day. So I used to just drive around Memphis on my way home, and I see, homeless people that are just asking for money. And I'd be like, hey, I don't have any money to give you, but here, I have fruit, I have some apples, bananas. And now I can't count how many times I've had people tell me, I don't want that shit. I need money. I don't need apples and bananas, or I've been riding with a friend who had a half of a Subway sandwich left and tried to give it someone like, I don't know where your mouth be. And I'm like, some of these guys are really rude. Like, they are guys, ladies are really rude when you're trying to help them, because sometimes it's only the monetary gain that they can can get from it. So if it's outside of money, they don't really want it.
Yeah, no, there's what's that saying? There's a bad apple. There's at least one bad
apple. Yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is in any business, right? It doesn't matter. Doctor, accountant, real estate, insurance.
Always going to be that one.
It's always,
So yeah, man, overall, I'm glad you enjoyed New York. I can't wait to visit it myself and see, the nightlife, the lights, and just get a feel for that big New York life that, I've grown up, like you said, in movies, like Trading Places used to be one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies. And, just the Wall Street aspect of everything. I love that feel that those movies used to give me. And now that I'm in real estate and investments and things like that, it's almost kind of like a necessity to kind of get the feel for New York at this point.
I will tell you the one thing, man. When we went to Rockefeller Center, you see the big tree, you see the ice ring.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as big as you think it is.
Well, I was going to ask you the same thing about the Statue of Liberty. Is it as big as they've always portrayed it, or is it a little smaller?
No, when you fly over it and you're coming to New York, it's tiny, right? It's tiny, But when you get there to the island that she's sitting on, I mean, she's huge. It's 13 stories. I don't think it holds 10,000 people, but it's pretty large.
It's pretty huge.
Large. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, again, I'm glad y'all enjoyed y'all trip. Y'all made it back safely and everything like that. So what's next? Where y'all headed to next? What's the next vacation?
My wife hasn't been to Key West.
And Key West is not far, right? It's not far.
No, it's about a 6-7 hour drive. Key West, I want to go back to Vegas again, man. I do enjoy Vegas.
I do enjoy Vegas. It's just so expensive when I get on the tables. Yeah. I think next time we go to Vegas, I think I want to see shows. I think I want to actually go see some shows and things like that. Actually get that aspect of Vegas versus just the inner casino gambling perspective, because that's what I got last time.
I have to tell you, man, it's a secret of mine, James. A lot of people don't realize this, but I love the Broadway shows. I've probably seen 20 plus shows in my life.
Wow.
Yeah. From Moulin Rouge to Phantom of the Opera. I saw Phantom of the Opera. Me, the wife, my daughter, my son. We saw that in London. I've seen it 2 or 3 times here.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So if you haven't seen a show, I mean, Vegas. We went to Moulin Rouge in New York. We went to a show. Awesome, beautiful. Highly recommend it. But yeah, Vegas, same thing. There's a casino in Vegas now. I'll find out the name and let you know about it. That just spent, I think, $50 million on their stage setup.
Wow.
I mean, it's just crazy, man.
I mean, I think that's a drop in a bucket for some of these casinos, man. Like a drop in $50 million. They, yeah. I mean, I wish I could say the same thing.
I'd rather them take $50 million and give it to 50 people. You know,
I mean,
at
I would
least
like
change
to.
their
I would
lives.
like to be 10 of those 50 people. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. Other than that, though, I think when it comes down to it, and speaking of places like Vegas, which is a great topic actually, because I know a lot of people have moved out of California and Arizona to move to Vegas because of the tax breaks that you get there and the cheaper living structure. I mean, moving to the middle of the desert isn't really my forte, not something I have on my to-do list. But
Yeah.
Texas, Florida, and Vegas are the hot spots now. When it comes to the places where they say it's the new retirement states. When it comes to people who are going through that. And you made a great point as well. You sent me a video that stated that video. No, you sent me a screenshot or a photo that said the new retirement number is 1.5 million.
Yeah.
1.5 million to retire. Just imagine your great grandfather saying they needed 1.5 million 40 years ago to retire. What kind of yeah, that just that number itself sounds almost unreachable to the average person.
Yeah. Well, what did you say? You messaged me back and said that to raise a kid
To
from day
18.
1 to 18 is like $330,000 or
Yep.
something, right?
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, that's a crazy number to think. That actually would scare people from having kids, probably,
It
right?
would. It
You
would.
know.
It would. Because I mean, I look at the number and I remember now when I was growing up, I'm pretty sure we can only cut that down maybe 10 or 15% from the time I was 18, maybe 20% from the time I was 18. That's what it took to actually raise me as a child. And
Yeah.
I can think about all the times that I would go and cry to my mom about, hey, I need you to buy me this. I need you to purchase this. I mean, outside of the things that it took to actually raise me as a child, but not realizing that, hey, that 6.75 or that $7 an hour she was making, it's not sufficient to raise 4 kids, and each one of them probably going to cost you roughly around 200 to 300K to get them through life, at least to the age of 18. So I think most kids, I wish kids had more of a perspective on that, so they can respect the fact that when they come and ask moms and dad for that extra $100 to get something that is not tangible, or that's intangible, that's not, that they can't actually use for their future, how hard they got to work for that extra $100.
I will tell you, man. In it's probably more expensive than the 330,000, right? Because I don't know about your daughter. Well, you guys are on keto right now, but my kids are not on keto right now, right? So they're like last night we're coming back from the airport, we're driving home, and my son calls me. He's like, "Hey, Dad, you mind stopping by the store? What are we having for dinner?" I'm like, "Son, I just want to get home. Like, let's
Right.
figure it out." And it's like, "Oh, can you transfer $20 to my account so I can go get some
DoorDash
fast
or
food?" I'm like,
DoorDash, yeah.
can we just cook some dinner? I got McDonald's as a kid one time a week, and that was like Sunday morning. My stepdad would go and get McDonald's breakfast.
Yeah.
During the week, no, we had home cooked meals. Like, we don't need to spend that money.
Exactly.
Right?
So I mean, I totally agree. My daughter, and again, she's not hard to please, but I know for a fact that she has a level of taste when it comes to her food, because I've been able to spoil her a little bit and tell her it's okay to spend $20 on a meal, because if the food's good, it's worth it. But
Yep.
but as I now look at the economy, I'm like, yeah, I think we need to kind of restructure that mentality a little bit. Maybe we could spend these $20 on going to the grocery store to pick up 2 or 3 days worth of food, where we can then restructure our mentality a little bit, because that's scary, bro. Needing $1.5 million, and I work an average job, and I got 2, 3 kids, and I work an average paying job, and I need $1.5 million to actually retire. When will I be able to save that with the everyday life of living? You can't put that much money in the bank. You have to have passive income. You have to have some type of passive investment to survive on that structure.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. You know. it, it takes a little bit of luck, it takes a little bit of hard work, you know, and it's crazy when you look at those numbers and start to justify, oh my God, you know, hey, 20 years, 30 years from now, I'm going to be looking at retirement, and you know, that 1.5, 2.5 million, whatever it may be, right? It's
Hmm.
it's scary.
Do you recommend? And it's hard to have these conversations as well because we have kids, but now I think I I prefer my child. I only have one. I have one myself. We have there's four overall, you know. But raising kids, I think I tell my daughter, don't have a child until you're 30, 31 years old. By that time, you're able to secure yourself in all the necessary aspects. You know, it's not saying I don't want you to have children. I would, love for you to have children. But at what age do you think you should start planning for actual kids? Because I feel like that's something that people should plan for now versus just have. Because I see a lot of times that we put ourselves in financial situations by
Yeah.
just having versus planning.
You know, I don't know if there's a magic age, right? So I think everybody will argue it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
You know, our daughter basically states that, you know, she doesn't want kids, she wants to travel, and
Hmm.
and we need people like that, right? That want to travel, business, and all that good stuff. I've only asked that give get because she's in college right now. She's studying business and psychology, right?
Awesome. Great, great, great
And
topics. Hmm.
I'm hoping that she you know majors in business and does a minor in psychology, right? So all I've asked is that get a minimum of 4 years, please. You know, we've pushed through. She's going to graduate her 2 years. I'm like, let's get another 2 years and get settled, right? I don't want you to be struggling if you did have a child. And this is for anybody, not just my kid, but I don't want you to have to struggle and just work. Like I want you to enjoy life,
Right.
right? 21, 22, 23 years old, you're a baby still, right? I remember those years and I'm like, man, I was just moving through.
I was just a kid. I was still
Yeah,
a kid
yeah,
at that
you
point.
know. And when we had our daughter at 25, right?
Hmm.
Now, a lot of our friends it just had their first child. Like we're at the point now where we're like, man, we're ready to, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Take off and
travel the world, man. I want to do a podcast from different countries
yeah.
already. You know what I'm saying?
Don't want to be changing diapers.
Right. You know, so it's I think I don't think there's a right time, right age. I think we as parents we're going to suggest things, but I just want to be able my son or my daughter to handle things on their own. I don't want them to be dependent on someone else, right? And I think that's what we have done as parents is we're like, hey, look, it's great to have a partner. We want you to be happy so that you can smile and you can talk to them. But really, at the end of the day, we want you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet,
Right.
know that, hey, you can do anything you want to do by yourself, with a partner, whatever it is. So, um, you know, get that school done or at least be very comfortable in the shoes that you are wearing, right?
I totally agree, man. I definitely agree with that because again, Bernadette just she said start planning to have kids in this economy at 50. I mean it's a little geriatric, but I
It
mean
may keep you young, you know? It may keep you young.
I couldn't see myself like honestly just having her grandson over here just recently, what, a week and a half ago. It definitely was something like I couldn't have another child. I could not have another child right now. My life is the way my life is structured and the way I see it going over the next 10, 15 years. Having another child is not even at question. Like my daughter's about to be 18 in the next 16 months. I can't see it happening. It's not possible for me. So overall, I definitely want her to wait till she's 28 to 32 before she's
Okay.
actually try to dive into that because I know from experience, just my experience and seeing other people who like now the school she's come from, as I mentioned earlier, she's had 8, 9 kids at her old school already deliver babies in the last past 7, 8 months. And it's not going to be easy. And while we're speaking about that, have you ever seen this movie called Idiocracy?
I have not.
Idiocracy, great movie, great movie. Oh my gosh, who plays?
I guess I'm
that?
gonna have to watch it tonight and then we flip back on Monday.
All right, so Idiocracy has oh, you have to forgive me, I forgot. It has the I forget his name, but one of my favorite actors. Super funny guy. I always have this slapstick kind of approach. But anyways, Idiocracy basically structures the movie is structured around the fact that intelligent people decided along the way that they would wait to a certain age to have kids because they wanted to get everything in order, constantly build up, the finances and make sure that was in the proper place before they started having kids and getting married, the whole nine. But somewhere along the line that these people started to get so focused on their careers that they never even had a child, or if they had a child, they would only have one. But people of lower education would go off and have 4 or 5 kids, out populating the people who were having quote unquote what they call oh my goodness, I'm going blank this morning. Bernadette, what is this called? It's called start with an E, I think. Well, they would anyways, where they would have children on the basis that epigenetics. So where they was choosing their partners to say, okay, you have a college degree, you're a scientist, things like that. So when the people who was just randomly having kids by 3 or 4 different people, their DNA wasn't as quote unquote intelligent. So the movie pretty much spiraled from there to show in 200 years, people who have children on the basis of just having children, our world would then get dumber. The world would get dumber in a sense that there's not enough intelligent minded people having kids out of the standard of epigenetics, where they're choosing the partners to create multiple smart kids. So the movie is super good. It's a funny movie, but the reason why I think it was a big hit, because people are afraid that it's possible, because epigenetics plays a part. Like, I don't know if are you familiar with epigenetics?
Yeah. So when was this movie produced, James?
2009, 2010.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Selective breeding. Yeah, selective breeding. Something we do with dogs, not humans. Yeah. So selective breeding is pretty much what it's based around. So would you consider epigenetics something that you would want to your kids to go after, or selective breeding, versus just having the guy who works at McDonald's for the last 15 years, didn't finish college or high school? Like, do you have that perspective?
I don't. At the end of the day, I want them to be happy. I want my daughter and my son to treat their partners the way that they want to be treated. And, I don't, doesn't bother me if they're cleaning, mowing yards, cleaning pools, painting houses. If they're a doctor, their attorney, it doesn't matter to me. I really want them to be happy. That's what I want. At the end of the day, I want them both to be happy in their shoes. I want them to be happy with their partners. I want them to respect their partners. And, everything else is going to fall in place, in my opinion.
And again, I totally respect that as well. So on that basis, do you see a problem with selective breeding when it comes to people if they wanted to, like, hey, like, that's how it kind of was, like, if rich families or very powerful families like the Queen Elizabeth, look at the queens of England and all of these people, they've always pretty much matched their couples, and
it's like a dictatorship, my friend. No, I think that's absolutely. Is it people that think like that? Absolutely.
Is it dictatorship or keeping a bloodline strong?
So I mean, I couldn't go and tell my daughter, listen, you can't marry him. You got to marry him. I can't even fathom the idea that I'd be like, no, you're not marrying her, son. You're not doing that. You have to go and do this. You have to marry this person. Like,
so there's no guy that your daughter could bring home you're like, hell no to. That is not happening.
I'm not saying that. I already said, if they got a poor piss attitude, I may say, hey, look, can we consider this?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna be like, hey, look, 2 houses down, this guy's going to school to be a doctor. You really should go and
know,
talk to James.
that reminds me of some of the like shows and movies I've seen growing up when like the mother is like, you're not marrying that girl. Like, what
Yeah.
about let me go to church and find you a nice church going girl. You know, she's
It's top of her class.
she's beta
Yeah.
cum laude and all of this,
Yeah.
like
She exercises. She doesn't need keto.
oh my goodness. But yeah, man, I mean, there's a lot of great things out here in the world, that we can have multiple conversations on. And again, that's why I'm glad that we're taking this approach, because we can actually have real conversations.
Yeah, man.
And honestly, bro, I definitely feel like at this point where we are as men and growing men, we can have open conversations like this. Bernadette said, oh my gosh, James, he's the next topic. Listen, I told Daddy last week I was going to ask him a question to try to shake his boots a little bit, and he's supposed to have one for me. He was supposed to have one for me. So I don't know. Do you have a question for me?
My question was last week, and I didn't get to ask you at all, my friend, and it was upset. What takes it? What makes a great leader?
What makes a great leader?
What are you doing to lead your team, your family?
Man, yeah. So honestly, if I'm being truthful,
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, totally honest. Not trying to sugarcoat a great answer. I think honestly, I don't know what makes a great leader. The reason why I'm saying that is because I've never had to be a leader. I've kind of been able to play it by ear, just kind of figure it out as I go. I've made mistakes, and through those mistakes, I've been able to cultivate new perspectives, new idealisms that would help me pave a better road for not just me, but my family as well. So honestly, I really don't know what makes a great leader. I actually don't know if there's seriously, I don't know if there's a such thing as a great leader. I think there's great people who have the opportunities to shed light on certain situations and create new dynamics. But I don't think anyone can lead anybody, because we all have free will. We have choices that we have to freely make ourselves. And those choices are always going to be yours. I can't force anybody or anything to do what I'm doing. So I think what makes a great leader, if any leader at all, is being able to give people the choice to make their own decisions.
I agree with you, James. I do believe that your leadership skills and being a leader, I think you present all of those attributes. From business to the way that you talk about your daughter and Bernadette and her kids and all of that stuff. I think the reason we're doing this here and we talk about it off record is there's a lot of people when you're sitting in a room and they're listening to what's so-called a leader because that person is leading the class or the meeting or whatever they're talking about. And there's always that person that's sitting in the back and they have this question to ask and they don't, right? I think when you talk about leadership, that leader needs to be able to bring out that person and allow that person to speak their mind or ask the question that they want.
Agreed.
Right? So a leader is not, in my opinion, is just not follow along. It's bringing out the best in everybody that's around you, right? And when you and I are sitting in a meeting room and we're talking real estate, we're talking insurance, we're talking family business, at home, the leadership skills are there, right? So you may not have to call yourself a leader, but I think you're a leader, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And honestly, that goes without saying, man. Listen, I think you are as well. I think we both have great paths that we're on together and individually. And we're going to have a lot of people behind us taking notes of what we're doing, what we're trying to do, what we're going to accomplish in the long haul. But yeah, man, overall, I definitely appreciate that question because I honestly, I've never had that question asked to me, what makes a great leader. what makes a great person to inspire other people or inspire other people to be great themselves. So I definitely appreciate you asking that question. And on that basis, you know what time it is. It's 7:45.
It's that time.
It's that time. So I hope you all enjoyed the show. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. This is The Closing Table. I am your host, James. You can also follow me on Instagram and it might Bernadette said this was a little narky of me, but at King James _ realtor.
Is that available? King James?
It was available, bro, and I just say, hey, I might as well run with it, you know?
I know exactly why you did that, because now he's going to call and buy it from you.
So, and
You
especially,
need an agent. Please call me.
got you. And you can also follow the wonderful co-host. I don't even want to call you co-host, man. You're not co-host, man. You're host as well. We're just two hosts up here.
Host.
Yeah, we're host. We're the host. It's not it's not host and co-host. It's host. You have Daniel White. You can also follow him at Daniel White _ realty on Instagram. And again, we appreciate everybody for tuning in again and enjoying the conversation. This is what we want to have, a conversation. We don't want to dictate and be news broadcasters, and we don't want to give you guys a rundown of things that's happening in the news. You can get that anywhere. But overall, I think we had a great conversation. Again, I think this was a learning conversation versus...
I agree. And I think moving forward, like if they're listening and they have a question, right? Something they want our opinions on it, please hit the chat.
Hit the chat.
Ask it.
Yeah, ask the question.
What would you do in this situation? Something that happened over the weekend at their house or during the week, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be finance. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be anything.
Anything, because we do talk about self-development on here as well. So we want to get perspectives. So don't forget.
Motivate and dominate.
Exactly. Listen, don't forget to find the movie Idiocracy on whatever you have, and check that out, man. We can talk about that again next week. But other than that, thanks for joining us at The Closing Table, and it was a wonderful show. Until next time, y'all have a great one. All right.